Awesome. Are you a fan of managed democracy? Because here at Chocobo Chasers, we are. Dash, Eric, and I are so thrilled to be able to welcome the spokesman himself, Craig Lee Thomas. You may have seen his innocent family slaughtered in the starting video for Helldivers 2, and if there's anybody who cares more about freedom, we haven't met them. In addition to Helldivers 2, you can catch Craig in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Asgard's Wrath 2, Like a Dragon, The Man Who Erased His Name, and that's just some of his more recent gaming work. For non-gaming roles, you can catch him as Elvis and Jane the Virgin, also in the series Sorry for Your Loss, among so many others. I mean, check out his IMDb, it's pretty lengthy. Craig, thanks so much for coming on, man.
What's up, guys? How are you? Very happy to spread some managed democracy to the
Hell
podcast.
yeah.
What's going on?
We're doing awesome. Eric, why don't you go ahead and kick us off as far as questions go, man?
Yeah, so we'll start out pretty simple, man. What was your favorite part of working on Helldivers 2? And do you have a favorite line that you got to say? Because I'm sure they probably had you repeat it numerous times. So.
Oh, my God. I mean, yeah, the question with a million answers. I mean, everything about the process of doing it was awesome. I got to go to Sweden with like no notice, which was wild because Arrowhead and GBK, who did the cinematic, are in Stockholm. So that was incredible. Getting to travel for work is always fun. I would say, I mean, not that this was working on one of the side effects, because it takes so long to, once you do, the first thing you do is you meet everybody and you do the facial scan, which takes 3 hours in these bubble spheres of cameras because they have to completely render everything about you. That data, I guess, takes a while to process. So first night there, I'm still like a little jet lagged. We go in, we have like a nice lunch, we do the thing, and they're like, cool, we'll see you on Thursday. And it was Tuesday. I was like, what? Oh, yeah, it takes like 48 hours to process all this data. So have fun. So I just got to kind of dick around in Sweden by myself, which was really fun. And the reception has been the best part about it afterward. Just like it came out of nowhere in terms of its popularity and everybody liking it so much. And I was able to snag a PS5 and start to play it. And like, I feel like I'm back in college in the Halo 3 days, just like talking to old college buddies and everybody's online playing it. Just being an idiot on mic has been pretty fantastic. And
that's the best part about it, man.
Sweet liberty will be the phrase that never leaves, for sure. I think that's permeated into my lexicon and will never leave. My dog, like, tries to eat something on a walk. I'm like, sweet liberty. No, I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I would say, segue into my next question, because with Helldivers 2 blowing up the way it did, and no one really expected that, now we have one of the most passionate communities out there, as we already know from recent events, especially.
Yes, exactly.
But do you have any particular favorite interactions with the community since it has come to fruition?
I mean, squatting up is incredible. Getting to see just like, obviously I'm a narcissistic actor just like every other fucking actor. So it's like, we're stupid and we do read the comments because we're curious. And just like being able to go on Reddit or go on the YouTube comments, or when people posted when GBK posted the behind the scenes video that they made, which was so neat. Just the overwhelming positivity that people are having, not only to the game, but also to the tone and to the intro cinematic. And like, I didn't really know what it was going in until we were shooting it, when they were like, oh no, this is like the intro to the game. I was like, is this a trailer? I didn't even know if I was in the game, quote unquote, or if it was just a commercial for the game. But realizing that it's like, shit, you kind of have to decide to not watch this every time you put the disc in. That's a lot of pressure.
It's hard not to skip, honestly.
And the amount of people like, oh, unskippable, must not skip. You can't skip. You're not democratic. That's been incredible to see that people like it that much. It makes me very happy because we worked hard on it, and hundreds of people worked a hell of a lot harder on it than I did. I just got to be the guy in front of the camera, which was really, really fun.
What's your favorite meme that you've had?
Oh, Jesus
with
Christ.
Your character.
Oh my God. I mean, it's hard to beat now that like my buddy sent me a fail today of some guy jumping off a building into a dumpster and cracking his skull off it, and then I cross frame and go, look familiar? So that's hard to beat. I think that's gonna last a while. And as my friend, I forget who dubbed it. I think my friend Han dubbed it the Pikachu face. when I go from being, yeah, exactly. Dash knew exactly what the Pikachu face was. That's the look to the hunter that eats my family. Just that face is going to live in infamy as well. And on my camera roll as I send it to everybody I know every single day.
It definitely may or may not be the photo that's accompanying this episode.
There's
on
no reason
all
for
social
it not
channels.
To be. Trust me. Yeah. One of the guys that I work with at the voiceover studio I teach at, my buddy Cullen, he sent me a screen cap of a text thread and inadvertently revealed that he changed my photo in his phone to the fisheye.
Just
all the way up from my head cam from the behind the scenes thing. I'm like, great, awesome. Now whenever I'm like, hey, can you let me into the studio? It's just like the worst, weirdest close up of my face, which is fitting. It's fine.
Awesome. Eric, go ahead.
So before we interview anybody, we typically go through like some of their previous works and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Peruse through their IMDb's. And so when looking at yours, man, you have a vast amount of credits on your IMDb page. Is there anyone's particular? It could be acting, voice acting, writing, or producing that stand out to you more than others. Because now I assume Helldivers 2 is probably one of the ones you're like, oh shit, this means a ton to me now.
Helldivers is huge. It was my first PCAP role, my first performance capture role, my first motion capture role, and my first facial scan. I mean, that's the craziest thing about it. The first time that Russ sent me, like Russ Nichols, the head writer of Helldivers 2, incredible guy, and obviously very funny. The first time he sent me when he was still in Sweden, he's like, dude, check it out. They just sent this over on the frame.io today. The first time I saw myself, and it was like, oh, fuck, that's just me. That is just a one-to-one. That was wild, obviously. But there have been lots of fun things along the way. People still get really excited about How I Met Your Mother, because that's a show that means a lot to a lot of people. So that's that it's a fun piece of trivia to have. People usually discover that pretty late. And that's still something that, a couple times a year, someone will text me a picture of their TV just in their living room going, what the fuck? Is that fucking you? I go, yeah. Like, I was not shy about talking about that when it happened, but it slipped through the cracks. Or friends I've made in the 10 years since. It's always fun when somebody's just like having a sick day and watching Netflix and they go, oh my God, that's you? I'm like, yeah, that's me. I make more in the residuals from that than half the shit I've done since because it runs so much. So How I Met Your Mother was a pretty big highlight. That was a fun one.
Hell yeah, man. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so kind of rolling along with that. So your IMDb almost reads like something that should be titled "Things That G Likes," because you're just like
I'm
in a lot of
G-coded.
yeah. That's a perfect way to put it. One of the most awesome things I noticed was you worked on Kablam, which
I did.
For people who are younger than like
For
25,
people who aren't old.
yeah, for people who are younger than 25, Kablam was a special show, just in terms of
Prometheus
its animation
and Bob,
style. Yeah,
Action League Now.
yeah. Like, so what was it like being a part of? I'd almost consider that to be like Nickelodeon's animation heyday, because I mean, you had everything coming out at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing I rarely speak of because there's nothing but embarrassing photos and videos. But I was a child actor for many years. I'm from the East Coast, and I spent pretty much age 4 to like age 15 missing like 35 days of school a year because my mom would drive me into Manhattan for auditions. So that was the whole thing. My wife regularly says she'll look at me sometimes. I'll just be reading her hand. She'll look, how are you normal? And I go, I don't know. I'm not, something canceled out. But I remember that day. It was just, I was like 9 years old. So when you're a kid and you're just there getting a bunch of attention from adults who are just like kind of gassing you up. Hey, what if you do? And then this thing happens. Whoa. I just remember being in the booth like, okay, I guess I need to make these noises. And it was like a fun hour and 45 minutes in a never-ending string of just my mom going, hey, you're going to miss your entire afternoon of school tomorrow. Okay. Hey, you got to sit in the car for 5 hours tomorrow. Okay. What am I doing now? You got to go into this little room and make these noises. Okay. Can I play Ninja Turtles after? Okay. Only if you're very good. So, I remember that day, but not as anything that registered, It was just another in a long string of having a job as a child.
Yeah. definitely, I think, not the norm experience for
No, not exactly.
99% of everybody. That's
Nah.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was fun, and like I said, lots of embarrassing photos and videos from that day for sure. My head was the same size, which is the weird thing. It's just been this the whole time. I finally grew into it, and I stopped overbalancing, which is nice.
And if we follow your roles on IMDb, we see that shift in like 2020 area, kind of, where you start going more into the video game
games.
sphere.
Holy shit! Yeah.
What were the particular factors that drew you into that line of work?
That's a great question. In 2017, 2018, I wanted to get back into voiceover because I did a lot of voiceover as a kid, which helped me pay for college and helped set me up after because I was employed for a decade in the 90s. But I didn't really do much VO when I moved. I moved to LA in 2009 and did a lot of the TV and film stuff that we talked about. And I wanted to get back into VO. And I did. I studied up. I took a lot of classes. I made a demo. But initially, it was all commercial for voiceover. I think at the time, I had the right kind of sound for a lot of the commercial space. And like the pendulum swings, different voice prints, different voice types are more or less popular, especially in commercial at different times. But for the first couple of years of my voiceover career, it was just commercials, which was very fun. But I could not get arrested in video games. Could not book a game to save my life. I think because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. There were not nearly the amount of classes or like educational resources at the time. But I took what classes I could. I trained with a lot of really nice, really great people. And I think I finally 2020 was the time that I finally had enough shitty swings under my belt that I started to do a little bit better. And video games, like any other industry, it's pebbles in the pile. You know, when you're nobody and they're listening to your read, it might bounce off a little bit. But if you do 10 good reads for 10 different projects, people start to remember your name. You know, you start to get a little bit more recognition. But I think more than anything, it was the pandemic. I was very fortunate to be able to record from home. I had a walk-in closet at the place I used to live, and I kitted it out with foam, and I had my mic and everything, and it was good enough that all of a sudden, when overnight you couldn't go into studios anymore and every company was scrambling, I was able to work, thank God, and that's how I kept myself afloat during the lockdown, especially.
I was going to wonder if that was kind of
I
was kind of wonder if that might have been a coincidence because it says 2020, but that's when the game releases, obviously.
Exactly. So I've been working in games before, but that was definitely that was when, you know, I think I did Final Fantasy VII Remake in 2019, and I can't talk about this even though it's not out because it is on IMDb. But
did you work with Keith Farley?
On that day, I did not. I worked with Michael Sorich, who's incredible and is now one of my really, really, really good friends, another legendary voice actor. Keith is right here. Keith lives
we've
right
had
next
him
to
on
my
before.
Heart.
So.
Yeah. Oh, well, then you know.
Yeah.
You know that to be in the presence
great,
of Keith Farley is just like, oh, it's like a hug from Santa. It's just the best. Like, he's the man. He directed Asgard's Wrath too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I got to work a ton with him on that game. He's directed me in a bunch of other games as well, and he's just the fucking best.
I see you got your little home studio there too already.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Since then I've moved, and I bought this used from I think Garden of Sound on Melrose in LA. They didn't need it anymore. This is like a vocalbooth.com 4x5 freestanding little box, and now I'm able to work. And you know, obviously, I've been working pretty consistently from home. Although now, the nice thing is being in LA. A lot of stuff is back in studio. I was in studio this morning for a job. I'm in studio tomorrow and Wednesday. So like we're back in a big way, which is nice. But when you're doing, you know, especially clients in China or Japan or Korea, or you're working with people in different time zones and stuff, I do a lot of evening remote sessions from here. So I still do get to work from here, which is nice. And this is where I do all my auditions and stuff too. So
hell yeah.
My little padded box.
So we've interviewed a bunch of people with experience like yours, film, voice acting, things like that. And it's fun to hear their processes for doing the different mediums. So what are some of yours that you get into? Like, how do you psych yourself up to get into it?
I think in terms of VO, I talk about this in a lot of the classes I teach. A lot of the process is exactly the same, kind of regardless of medium. I went to college for acting, and I studied at the Stella Adler Studio. So that by and large is like, if you had to say, like, sorry, as I smack my fucking microphone, that's the technique.
I got you, man. Hold on.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Everybody, crash your mic so I don't feel so self-conscious. So like Adler technique is really the heart of everything, which is very text analysis-y. And I think more than anything, the one thing that I do regardless is if it's a TV show, or if it's a movie, if it's a play, if it's voiceover, if it's a commercial, if it's anything, I always read the script first. I never want to have, they'll send a breakdown, like, which is what they think the character is. And for voiceover, you can get pretty specific about what they think the voice print is, because that's what the audition is. It's just your voice. I never want to have that rattling around in my head before I bring myself to the material, because that's a surefire way to do a boring read, in my opinion. If I have your idea of what this is in my head and then I read it, I'm only going to see that idea. And it's not that idea isn't good and that it's not useful, but like, if I read it first, I give myself a chance to have fresh eyes, and I give myself a chance to notice something weird or have a strange opinion or have a unique take that might get filtered in. Whereas if I'd have just read that you think this guy is like serious and straight and to the point, that's all I'm going to see. But if I read it and I go, oh, this guy's kind of an asshole. He's like kind of being a dick to this guy. You're like, oh, he's like making a joke here. If that's all I ever thought, I never would have saw it. Versus now I could see, oh, this guy's like kind of joking around. He's doing this. Oh, the team thinks he's really serious. Maybe I'll disagree with them a little bit. Maybe I'll do that choice anyway. Or that's sort of the main through line of my process, is just like giving myself permission to notice things and come at it clean, and then just trying to notice more than anybody else, just like picking apart the text, making sure I know why every piece of punctuation is in there, just trying to get as much context as I can as well, because especially for video games, they will redact everything they can. They will change names, they'll change places, they'll just straight up write you a scene that isn't in the project because it's so proprietary. But luckily, I'm a nerd. So, if you try to like, oh, wow, this is the Himra Corporation, and this guy, Nebulon, is, I think we all know what we're fucking talking about here. But like, sometimes it's that level, but if you have the context for the IP, you can then go, oh, shit, I know what this is for. That's also going to change your choices because you can use your knowledge of that base.
Hell yeah. And so you mentioned earlier, and this might have actually been before we were recording, but I've seen you recently post some gameplay of Helldivers 2 on your social.
I'm like 135% I think, or something disgusting like that.
So are you I know you mentioned, so obviously Halo 3, like in college, was a big thing for you. Mm-hmm. So are you kind of rediscovering gaming right now? Or is this something that like you have more so gotten into because of the success of the game?
Gaming. It's been a continuous through line since I was a kid. Okay. I've had dips for sure when I was busier or not with work, or if I'm like behind on a system, you fall behind a little bit. But like, I don't think there's been a time in my life, maybe other than when I first moved here and was just like busy getting my shit back together, that I wasn't playing video games at least weekly, if not more. Helldivers 2 has been amazing because it gave me an excuse to get a PS5 because I'm cheap and lazy, so I just didn't have one yet. I was just waiting. I was like, okay, I got to get one now. So now, of course, I'm like, oh shit, I have this huge fat catalog to keep up with. But I've had a pretty continuous since college. Xbox to PS4 to Switch to PS5 through line going on, and been very much into video games still, especially because now it's my job as well, so it's kind of important to it's important to keep track of them. But I've been a gamer since way back in the 90s for sure.
Awesome. Well, and I guess it's just kind of a quick follow-up to that. What are some of your favorites? Like, obviously big Halo, Helldivers. What else goes through the playlist of Craig?
When I was a kid, I was a PlayStation kid.
Okay.
So like I gotta say some ones that make me seem cool because they're off the beaten path. Jet Moto 2, huge for me. I love Toomba, which I did love those games, but then a bunch of just standards as well. Crash Bandicoot for sure. Oh my god, I think I played through Crash 2 on my original PlayStation like 30 or 40 times when I was a kid. That's always been there. So the Switch was a fucking purchase for me, man. I kind of like bought it on a lark, and then that gave me Breath of the Wild and Hades and all these games that I sunk so much time into. I think recently, honestly, as stupid as this sounds, I had to set an alarm on my phone because I knew I'd miss this because this game has taken over my entire universe. Walkabout Mini Golf for the MetaQuest 3. Guys,
I know what you're talking about, and that's
Guys.
actually really surprising.
Oh my goodness. It's sitting right there. It's staring at me because it knows that I'm coming right back to it. But I popped that shit in the other day, and all of a sudden you're just like by the beach, and you hear the waves, and you're in a pirate mini golf course, and that thock of the golf ball is perfect. And
Yeah.
I played for 3.5 hours until my battery died. I couldn't believe. I'm not a golfer. I've never swung a real golf club in my life. And now it's like my entire personality. So there you go.
It's calling to you like the Green Goblin mask from the other side of the room.
It's like me with golf. I never played golf, but I love Top Golf because
There you go.
Yeah.
Because golf games rule. And now I'm like, should I get PGA 23
Yeah.
for the MetaQuest? I probably am going to. So yeah.
I can remember my dad just
Video
playing
games
nothing
rule.
but golf with your friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the big thing.
I would play Lee Trevino. I mean, I'm older than all of you fuckers, but I would play Lee Trevino's golf on like Windows 95, PGA golf on my dad's like work computer, where you just had to like click with a little
Yeah.
bar. If you go too far one way or another, you shank it or slice it. So yeah, golf video games rule.
So we kind of covered it a little bit earlier, but what was like the whole journey to becoming essentially the face of Helldivers 2? So
It was unique in the timing, but very normal otherwise. Like pretty much any video game part of this like size and this budget, it came through my agency. So I was in this room in 2022, which is when we shot it. In this room, got an email. Hey, this is due by end of day. You got to put yourself on tape for this. I got a script. I think they called it Mecha Trooper, or it's the same thing, redacted. Everything's always redacted.
Yeah.
The script was basically a shorter version of what we know to be the intro. Pretty much just after. Look familiar? It was pretty much that till the helmet. So none of the top and none of the tail.
Yep.
And I just, my wife helped me tape it, and I walked towards the camera in an Aliens t-shirt because I was like, this seems sci-fi-y. And, she was amazed. She did speech and debate in high school. She was like, hey, this really seems like a speech. Like, you're taking a step forward here and then back here. That's weakening your position. Make sure that you take a step and then really, she like helped me crisp up my gestures, which I think really helped with the read because it just came through nice and specifically. I taped it. I sent it. And you train yourself as an actor, you send it and forget it. Has to be the way. Because I think I sent like 850 auditions last year. You're booking not even a single digit percentage of those. Like maybe single digits if you're lucky. It's just auditioning all the time. So you have to forget about everything you send or you drive yourself crazy. Sent it, didn't think anything of it. Got an email from the casting director. You're in the top 3. And you know that just means like either you made it past the first round, like, hey, we're sending this to the client, or the client has responded to you and these other guys. The next day, my agent's like, you have a passport, right? I was like, I think so. Shit, I hope it's not expired. And I was like, nope, I got a passport there. Great. And they just hung up. Then 2 hours later, hey, somebody from Arrowhead is going to be contacting you about flights. You need to get a COVID. This is 2022. You need to get a COVID test. You need to get your COVID, paperwork. You need to call the consulate and the embassy to make sure that there are all these steps still in place from quarantine back then. So I spent the rest of the week just furiously researching the airline rules and the airport rules and all these things to make sure that I could go. And I was in Stockholm on Sunday working that next week. So it was fast because they really needed to record it so they could start working on it. Because obviously the turnaround is, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of work to put these out.
Especially with, I'm sure, all that facial scanning, because
Yeah.
the amount of work that visual FX studio did for the opening,
Oh,
Just
and yeah, there's
so
a
lifelike. That's probably one of the best I've ever seen.
it's up there. They did I always say they did the first Alan Wake 2 trailer where you looked and the lamp comes there like, fuck, is that a guy? Like, that was good by Kansas as well. They work on tons of TV shows, tons of movies, tons of video games. They're one of the best to ever do it. They have a huge volume stage, so the space we were recording in was really, really lovely and nice and well appointed.
It's kind of a nice coincidence for this interview because we're really getting close to that 1-year anniversary of that announcement trailer dropping.
Yes.
We had that.
Yeah, at I remember PlayStation Showcase. I think it was the first trailer, just being like, holy shit, here we go. And not being able to say anything because I was still under NDA. And
even though people would probably be like, that's your face.
Oh, it was a nightmare. It was horrible. It was 4 months, maybe 6 months of just like, oh yeah, no,
That's definitely not me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. Just having to be super cagey, having to be so coy about it, and also being so excited, just wanting to shout it from the rooftops and not being able to. So, release day was a big relief for sure. And even then, you wake up that day, first thing you do, you call your agent and say, am I cool? Am I released? You gotta not screw that up.
Yeah.
So you need to always be careful. I usually will wait just to be safe. But I was very excited when this finally came out, and then obviously blown away by the response.
Well, you have absolutely killed it, man. I mean, we all three of us have played the game a lot.
It's a good game.
Yeah,
it's very good.
And a lot of our listeners have also played the game. I mean, the groups that we've been playing have just, I mean, it's still on the Steam top list every single week. It's on PlayStation's top seller list basically every month. It's been in the top 5 since release, and I mean, we've seen them address. I mean, the studio has done an awesome job of addressing a lot of the needs of the players, and so it's been awesome.
It's been great. Everyone at Arrowhead is amazing. So I couldn't be happier for them having this big success because they're terrific people. They were so welcoming to me, and they made a hell of a fucking game, man. It rips. It's fun. It's
Absolutely.
just good.
And so we also want to give you the opportunity because we've been kind of yammering on all about us, but we want to give you the opportunity to talk about, is there any projects or anything that you kind of wanted to highlight? Anything you want the people to know about? Maybe something, obviously you're an actor, you're under NDA for a lot of things. So there's probably things that you do want to talk about, but you can't necessarily, but is there anything that you can
talk about? Yeah. I mean, that's the hardest thing about video games versus, TV shows.
Right.
In my experience, you're sort of under an NDA for them. Not really. It's just sort of I don't talk about it too much, but you can talk about those things. Certainly once it's announced, you'll be like, hey, this episode will be airing on this date in 3 months, and you could kind of garner some excitement. None of that is possible with video games. You just have to be completely silent and then kind of talk about it after the fact, which is fine. So, I think regardless of your kind of video game you play, I think in the next 6 months you will have an opportunity to play a game that I've been happy to have worked on. I have some fun things coming out this year I think will not get me in trouble just saying that. It's very vague. So I have a bunch of stuff I'm looking forward to coming out this year and maybe early next year in all kinds of different games, which has been great. And yeah, other than that, if this seems fun, you should try it. It's a fun thing to study and try to make a living at, or just do because it's fun. There's lots of opportunities to take classes. You could take one of the things I do is I teach. You can take classes with me. I teach at a place called Real Voice LA here in Los Angeles. So look them up. There's a lot of amazing teachers there of all different stripes. And there's tons of other great places to take classes from anywhere in the world. I have students and colleagues and friends from Germany to the Philippines to Australia. People come in from Egypt, all over the United States and North America, of course. It's fun. If you're interested in performing, it's a nice outlet. So voiceover is cool, I guess is my message.
Hell yeah. Well, I speak for all three of us when I say this has been so cool. Obviously, getting to talk with not just an actor, but a fellow gamer is always a special treat for us too. So, Craig, I say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining us. This has been so cool, man.
Thanks, G.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Dash.
Looking
Thanks,
forward
Eric.
to those
Thank you, buddy.
games coming out.
Exactly. What a great plug. I'm looking forward to those things at a time and a place for a thing. Yeah,
To be announced.
Yeah, great PR there.
Soon, TM.
Yeah, soon TM.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Well,
guys.
I think this is a perfect way to go ahead and cap the episode off. We will catch y'all next time, and thanks so much for tuning in.
Have a good one.
Thank you.